Okay, so now I'm going to be covering the circulatory system, or circulation, starting with the arteries. Here's the aortic arch. You're going to have a left and right common carotid artery. The left common carotid artery is that center one that comes off the aortic arch. The left common carotid artery is going to come off this, which is the brachiocephalic trunk.
The right common
Yes,
carotid.
yes, the right common carotid artery, sorry. And it comes off the brachiocephalic trunk. And once it splits up here, that's when it becomes the right common carotid artery. We're going to go back to the left common carotid artery. They're both the same once they're there. You're going to have an internal and external carotid arteries. The internal one is going to be this one that goes straight up. It's going to go into the skull. And then the external one is this outer one. This is not the best illustration. Just know that the internal one is going into the brain, and the external one is going to come up outside the brain. Next, we're going to go into the left and right vertebral arteries. So these are the subclavians right here. The left subclavian is the one that it comes out direct from the aortic arch. The right subclavian comes out from the brachiocephalic trunk. So these are subclavians. The vertebral is going to be this first one that sticks out from the subclavian one. As you keep on traveling down these subclavians to the outside, you have an axillary artery, which is once it comes down here through the armpit area, and then you have a brachial artery once it comes down here at the arm. One thing to note, these two right here, this is going to be the basilic. All right, when I said basilic, disregard that. As you come down from the brachial, once you come to brachial arteries, let's look on the other side. You're going to have a radial and a ulnar artery, and they're going to split right here around the cubital area. They're going to come down here, and they're going to create a area called the deep and superficial palmar arches. Right here you can see the superficial. The deep one is deeper in. And after that, it comes down to these arteries, which are referred to as the digital arteries. Let's go back to the heart. We're going to go down to the lower body now. This is going to be the stay underneath here. You have part of the aorta still, and it's going to have a thoracic or intercostal arteries. You cannot see them on here, but just know that they're above the diaphragm, and they're going to spread out from behind the heart, and they're referred to as the thoracic or intercostal arteries. Once you come down here, you're going to have the ascending or abdominal aorta. You're going to have, first is going to be a celiac trunk, which is probably this area here that sticks straight out. This one here is going to be the superior mesenteric artery. Below these arteries that go off to the side, you're going to have an inferior mesenteric artery. Now this sticking out straight to the side to these kidneys, another word for kidney is renal, you're going to have the left and right renal arteries. Sticking out from behind this aorta, it appears, you see them right here, is going to be the gonadal arteries. In males, it's testicular arteries. In females, it's ovarian arteries. Now, when it splits, you're going to have the common iliac arteries. It's going to split into two, internal iliac and external iliac arteries. Keep on following down. The external iliac artery turns into the femoral artery, which is a big, long one. Right here behind the knee, it becomes the popliteal artery. As you keep on following it down, the one that goes on the anterior side is the anterior tibial artery. On the back side is the posterior tibial artery, and you have this area here that sticks out is the dorsalis pedis artery. Make simple, it's on the dorsal side, it's on the foot, which is pedis, and it's an artery. Here's another visual, the posterior tibial artery, the anterior tibial artery. Now we're going to go through the veins. We're going to start off from draining from the brain down to the heart. You're going to have the right and left internal and external jugulars. Okay, you see this blue vein coming from the inside of the brain? That's going to be your internal jugular. You have these external ones. Those are going to be your external jugular veins. They're going to dump into the right and left brachiocephalic veins, which are these right here, what they're draining into, which is going to drain back to the heart. Now we're going to start back from the right, or from the hands to the heart. I just covered the heart, or the brain to the heart. Now I'm going from the hands to the heart. You're going to have these digital veins. This is blue stuff right here. You're not going to have an arch. You're going to go straight back, and you're going to have a radial vein and an ulnar vein. Where they combine right here, this becomes the brachial vein. Now at the brachial vein, you have a cephalic and basilic vein. And the way it was diagrammed, you have one that's kind of coming from the... It would be around this area here that goes to the inside. This is not a really good diagram of it apparently, but you have one that goes from the inside and from the outside, and they're both superficial. And just know that they're coming off back to the brachial. Once you get up to the brachial, you have your axillary vein, and then it turns back into your subclavian vein. Subclavian, axillary, brachial, and you have these other smaller veins that are superficial, which are the basilic and the cephalic. Basilic is on the medial side, cephalic's on the lateral side. These are your veins we're talking about. And those are going to drain back into your superior vena cava. Now, draining from the foot back up to your heart. On your foot, you're going to have one thing called your greater saphenous vein, and that's going to be a very superficial one that comes across the front. And this doesn't seem to be a good picture of it, but it comes off the front. In the diagrams, there have been dashed lines. From there, you're going to have the same named arteries that you had. They're just going to be veins now because they're taking blood back to the heart, and that's going to be your anterior tibial vein and your posterior tibial vein. They're going to come back up, and they're going to, behind the knee here, it's going to be called your popliteal vein. It's going to turn into your femoral vein. From your femoral vein, you're going to come up here, and this is going to, you still have femoral, or this part right here is going to be your external iliac vein and your internal iliac vein. Where they combine, that's going to be your common iliac vein. Now as you keep on coming up, this one doesn't have it, but you're going to have your inferior mesenteric vein, just like you had your inferior mesenteric artery. It's going to be here on the bottom. Coming out from the kidneys back into this main inferior vena cava is going to be your right renal vein, your left renal vein. Now your gonadal veins are also coming back in here. Your right gonadal vein is going to enter right into the inferior vena cava. Your left gonadal vein is actually going to enter or drain into your left renal vein as well. Now next, you're going to have a hepatic portal vein, which the best, you see all these kind of combining here. There's one there, there's another one there, there's another one there. They drain into a thing called the hepatic portal vein because they're taking blood into the liver. And this big vein coming from the liver out back into the inferior vena cava, once it's been filtered all the blood of all the bad stuff. There's a good word for it, I can't remember at the time. That's the hepatic vein. The difference in the hepatic portal vein is it's taking blood to the liver from all these different organs over here. The hepatic vein is taking blood from the liver back into the inferior vena cava, back to the heart.